What most people misunderstand about the empath personality is power does not always arrive early. In a world that rewards noise, speed, and aggression, the empath often looks weak in the beginning. They feel deeply. They notice everything. They care too much. They hesitate before hurting others. They question themselves while louder people move ahead without guilt. And because of that, many assume the empath will always be behind. But they are watching the wrong timeline. The empath's early life is often heavy. They absorb the moods of their family, the tension in rooms, the pain people hide, and the pressure to keep everyone comfortable. They learn to read faces before words. They learn danger before safety. They learn how to survive emotionally long before they learn how to thrive. While others are building confidence on the outside, the empath is building awareness on the inside. And awareness is slow power. At first, this sensitivity can feel like a burden. They overgive. They trust the wrong people. They stay too long in places that drain them. They confuse kindness with self-sacrifice. They think being needed means being valued. Many empaths spend years being used by people who mistake softness for weakness, but pain becomes education. With time, the empath starts noticing patterns others miss. They see manipulation faster. They hear dishonesty in the tone, not just the words. They recognize when love is control, when attention is selfishness, when apologies are strategy. Every disappointment sharpens their perception. Every betrayal teaches boundaries. Every lonely season teaches self-respect. Then something changes. The empath who once carried everyone begins carrying themselves. The person who once begged to be understood stops explaining. The one who once tolerated chaos starts choosing peace. They become calm, clear, selective, and strong. Not loud strong. Not performative strong. Real strong. Later in life, this becomes rare power. Because while many people grow older without growing wiser, the empath often grows wiser with every wound. They become emotionally intelligent, hard to fool, difficult to control, and deeply connected to what matters. They no longer chase approval. They no longer need crowds. They know who they are. And that kind of person becomes unstoppable. So if an empath seems delayed, overlooked, or underestimated in the early chapters, be careful what you assume. Some people bloom fast and fade fast. The empath blooms late and lasts. The empath often struggles early in life because they are playing a different game than everyone else. While many people are learning how to impress, compete, and protect their image, the empath is learning how to feel. They notice tension others ignore. They sense rejection before a word is spoken. They carry emotions that do not even belong to them. This creates depth, but in the beginning, depth can feel heavy. Many people move ahead faster because they are less affected by what surrounds them. They can enter the wrong room and stay untouched. They can use charm without guilt. They can chase status without questioning the cost. They can step over people and still sleep at night. The empath usually cannot do that. Their conscience slows them down. Their heart asks questions ambition alone never asks. So while others appear confident, the empath is often doubting themselves. They replay conversations. They wonder if they upset someone. They feel responsible for moods they did not create. They try to keep peace in places built on dysfunction. This drains energy that could have been used for progress. In youth, the world often rewards visibility more than wisdom. Loud voices get attention. Aggressive personalities get noticed. Quick talkers seem powerful. The empath may stay quiet, observe, and think deeply. To shallow eyes, this looks like weakness. But silence is not weakness. It is often intelligence waiting for the right moment. Another reason the empath struggles early is because they believe goodness will be recognized automatically. They think honesty will be valued, loyalty will be returned, and kindness will be respected. Sometimes it is. But often, especially in immature environments, these qualities are exploited before they are appreciated. The empath gives trust too quickly, gives time too freely, and gives patience to people who never earned it. This creates painful lessons. They may be overlooked at work while louder people get promoted. They may be used in relationships by people who love receiving more than giving. They may be surrounded by people who only call when they need something. And for a while, the empath wonders what is wrong with them. Nothing is wrong with them. They are simply learning what many people never learn until much later. Not everyone values what is pure, and not everyone deserves access to what is sincere. These early struggles are not signs of failure. They are training. Every disappointment teaches discernment. Every betrayal teaches boundaries. Every season of being underestimated teaches self-definition. The empath slowly learns that being kind does not mean being available, and being loving does not mean accepting disrespect. Meanwhile, the people who seemed ahead may have built their success on image, ego, or shortcuts. Those things look strong early, but they weaken over time. The empath builds slower because they are building on truth. Truth takes longer, but it lasts longer. So yes, the empath may look delayed in the beginning. They may seem behind while others race forward. But some people sprint into emptiness, while others walk steadily into power. The empath's early struggle is often the price of a later strength few people ever reach. Pain, betrayal, and disappointment become the empath's greatest teachers because the empath feels every lesson completely. What breaks one person for a moment can shape an empath for years. They do not just experience events, they experience meaning. They replay what happened, search for truth inside it, and try to understand why it hurt so deeply. This can be exhausting, but it is also the reason they grow in ways others often do not. When an empath is betrayed, the first wound is not always the loss of the person. It is the loss of trust. They trusted what felt real. They believed the words, the connection, the promises. So when deception is revealed, they are forced to face something painful. Sincerity in them does not guarantee sincerity in others. That realization changes everything. At first, betrayal can make the empath blame themselves. They think they were too naive, too open, too generous. They ask why they did not see the signs sooner. But with time, a healthier truth appears. Their kindness was not the mistake. The mistake was giving access without boundaries. Their heart was never the problem. Their lack of protection was. That lesson creates strength. Disappointment teaches something equally valuable. Empaths often expect depth from people because depth is natural to them. They assume others care the way they care, think the way they think, love the way they love. So when people act selfishly, avoid responsibility, or choose convenience over loyalty, the empath feels shocked. But disappointment removes illusion. It teaches them that projection is dangerous. Just because they would never betray someone does not mean others share that standard. Just because they communicate honestly does not mean everyone values honesty. Slowly they stop assuming. They start observing. They learn to watch actions instead of being hypnotized by words. Pain also teaches the empath where they abandon themselves. Many of their deepest wounds come from staying too long after respect ended, giving too much after effort disappeared, or forgiving people who never changed. Pain reveals where self-love was missing. This is why suffering often transforms the empath more than comfort ever could. Comfort keeps people asleep. Pain wakes them up. It forces reflection. It demands growth. It asks hard questions. Why do I keep choosing this? Why do I ignore red flags? Why am I trying to save people who drain me? Those questions become turning points. Over time, the empath becomes wiser. They still care, but they care with awareness. They still love, but they love with standards. They still help, but they no longer rescue those committed to harming themselves or others. Their compassion becomes cleaner because it is no longer mixed with self-neglect. Even disappointment becomes useful. Every letdown narrows their focus. Every false connection teaches them what real connection feels like. Every painful ending makes them less afraid of endings. They realize losing the wrong people is not loss at all. The empath who once saw pain as punishment begins to see it as preparation. And this is why their later strength is so real. It was not borrowed from books, trends, or appearances. It was earned through wounds they turned into wisdom, tears they turned into clarity, and heartbreak they turned into boundaries. Some people become bitter from pain. The empath becomes powerful from it. Emotional intelligence is one of the rarest forms of power because it cannot be faked for long. And many empaths develop it with age because life forces them to understand emotions at a level most people avoid. From an early stage, the empath learns to read what is unspoken. They notice when someone says, "I'm fine," but their energy says otherwise. They feel tension behind polite smiles. They sense distance before silence becomes obvious. What begins as sensitivity later becomes perception. At first, this ability can feel overwhelming. They may absorb too much, care too much, and become confused by everyone else's moods. They struggle because they can sense problems but do not yet know how to manage what they sense. It is like having sharp vision without knowing where to look. But age changes that. With experience, the empath learns the difference between noticing emotions and carrying them. This is a major turning point. They realize they do not need to fix every sad person, calm every angry person, or save every broken person. They can understand someone without becoming responsible for them. That creates emotional maturity. Many people grow older but stay emotionally reactive. They still explode when challenged, shut down when criticized, lie when uncomfortable, or run when intimacy becomes real. The empath, after enough life experience, often becomes the opposite. They learn to pause before reacting. They learn to name what they feel. They learn that not every emotion deserves expression, and not every conflict deserves participation. This makes them powerful in relationships. They can recognize insecurity hiding behind arrogance. They can see pain hiding behind cruelty. They can identify manipulation dressed as affection. Because of this, they stop being easily controlled by appearances. They are less impressed by charm and more interested in consistency. They stop asking, "How do they make me feel today?" and start asking, "Who are they repeatedly showing themselves to be?" That one shift protects them from many mistakes. Emotional intelligence also gives the empath calm under pressure. Since they have spent years dealing with inner storms, outer chaos no longer shakes them the same way. They know emotions rise and fall. They know panic passes. They know silence can be stronger than argument. While others react instantly, the empath often responds with patience and perspective. This power becomes visible in work, family, and leadership. People trust those who stay grounded. They respect those who listen deeply. They remember those who make them feel understood without being judged. The empath may not dominate every room, but they often become the most valuable person in it. Most importantly, emotional intelligence helps them understand themselves. They begin to recognize their triggers, patterns, fears, and needs. They stop abandoning themselves to keep others comfortable. They stop confusing loneliness with love. They stop accepting chaos because it feels familiar. Self-awareness becomes self-respect. And once the empath reaches that level, everything changes. Their relationships improve, their decisions sharpen, their peace becomes protected, their presence becomes stronger without becoming harder, because true power is not loudness, control, or intimidation. True power is understanding emotions so deeply that they no longer control you. Boundaries are often the moment an empath's life begins to change. Before boundaries, they may spend years trying to earn love through sacrifice. They say yes when they mean no. They stay available when they are exhausted. They tolerate disrespect because they understand the pain behind it. They keep giving chances because they know people are wounded. Their heart is open, but without protection, openness becomes a doorway for misuse. Many empaths become people pleasers not because they are weak, but because they are deeply aware. They can feel disappointment in others, tension in the room, and the discomfort that comes when someone is upset. So they try to prevent conflict before it starts. They smooth things over. They over-explain. They apologize too quickly. They carry emotional weight that was never theirs. For a while, this can look like kindness. But over time, it becomes self-erasure. The empath starts losing energy, confidence, and clarity. They become resentful without understanding why. They feel unseen, even while constantly showing up for others. They feel lonely, even when surrounded by people. This happens because connection without boundaries is not true connection. It is access, then life teaches a hard lesson. Some people do not respect kindness unless it comes with limits. This realization can be painful because the empath often wants to believe love alone can fix dynamics. But boundaries reveal something important. Love without standards invites confusion. Compassion without limits invites exploitation. Generosity without discernment attracts takers. So the empath begins to change. They learn that no is a complete sentence. They learn silence can be healthier than endless explanation. They learn not every misunderstanding needs correction. They learn that someone being upset with them does not automatically mean they did something wrong. This is where the people pleaser starts disappearing. The empath stops managing everyone else's emotions. They stop chasing people who withdraw to gain control. They stop rewarding inconsistency with patience. They stop proving their worth to those committed to misunderstanding them. And something surprising happens. Instead of becoming cold, they become clear. Their kindness remains, but now it has direction. Their generosity remains, but now it has wisdom. Their love remains, but now it includes themselves. Boundaries do not remove their softness. They remove access to those who abuse it. This creates a powerful presence. People begin to feel the difference. The empath is still warm, but no longer easy to manipulate. Still caring, but no longer endlessly available. Still compassionate, but no longer naive. There is a quiet strength in someone who can love deeply and still walk away when necessary. That presence commands more respect than pleasing ever did. Because people-pleasing says, I will betray myself so you stay. Boundaries say, I respect myself whether you stay or go. And once an empath learns that truth, they stop begging for space in other people's lives and start protecting peace in their own. The empath's later life strength is deeper and more lasting than surface success because it is built from the inside out. Many forms of success look powerful in the beginning. Attention looks powerful. Popularity looks powerful. Money, status, charm, and influence can all create the image of strength. But anything built only on appearance can disappear when circumstances change. The empath learns this slowly. In earlier years, they may compare themselves to people who seem ahead. They watch others gain recognition faster, build social circles easier, and move through life with more confidence. The empath may feel delayed, wondering why life seems harder for them. What they often do not realize is that many people are building quickly on unstable foundations. Some build identity on approval. They feel valuable only when admired. Some build confidence on control. They feel strong only when others feel small. Some build success on performance. They know how to impress, but not how to connect. These structures can rise fast, but they crack under pressure. The empath builds differently. Their progress is slower because they are learning lessons that cannot be skipped. They are learning discernment after betrayal, peace after chaos, self-respect after rejection, emotional balance after pain. These victories are invisible to the outside world, but they become the strongest kind of foundation. Later in life, this becomes obvious. While some people panic when praise disappears, the empath no longer depends on it. While some people collapse when relationships fail, the empath has already learned how to be whole alone. While some people chase distractions to avoid themselves, the empath has spent years facing themselves honestly. That creates uncommon stability. The empath's strength is not based on being the loudest person in the room. It is based on being centered when the room becomes unstable. It is not based on controlling others. It is based on controlling their own reactions. It is not based on winning every argument. It is based on knowing what deserves silence. This is why many empaths become stronger with age. Time removes illusions. They stop trying to be chosen by everyone. They stop mistaking attention for love. They stop confusing busyness with purpose. They become selective, intentional, and calm. And calmness is often mistaken for simplicity when it is actually mastery. They know how to walk away from what once trapped them. They know how to recognize people quickly. They know how to protect energy without guilt. They know how to love without losing themselves. These are not dramatic powers, but they shape an extraordinary life. Surface success impresses strangers. Inner strength protects the soul. And when life becomes difficult, as it always does, the person with inner strength usually stands longer than the person with outer image. Titles fade. Looks change, crowds move on, trends die. But wisdom, emotional discipline, and self-respect grow stronger with time. That is why the empath's later life power lasts. Because what took longer to build was worth more to possess.